Welcome back to the Miniature Mic Monologue.
You guys, hello? What do you mean? This is episode 50! I was gonna try to be all calm and cute when I sat down, and then I sat down and it all hit me. I was like, what? I put on the same sweater that I wore in my first episode. And as you've already seen, this is a questions episode because I thought what more fitting than to have like a full circle moment, because doing something kind of over the top and trying to make 50 things that are takeaways or 5 different things that I've learned, none of those ideas were sitting right with me. They didn't resonate, and it didn't feel like what I've come to know and appreciate and love about the familiarity of this podcast and just the simplicity that makes it relatable for me, and I know it does for others. So I was like, I'm gonna do a questions episode, and at the last minute I was like, I'm going to put on the same sweater. But the fact that I look so drastically different, like, I'm gonna let's get a side by side of the first thumbnail versus this one. Hello? Ma'am, my gasters are flabbered, okay? Wow, okay? And so I went outside, got some fresh air. This sweater is so very contrary to the weather outside right now. It is absolutely stunning. Right in the middle of December. Like, it's not the middle, but like, it is gorgeous. Like 70 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, crystal clear picture of the sun. So bright, if you look at it, it burns your corneas and damages your pupils. It's stunning. So I love that for me. If it's not like that where you are, I'm very sorry. But today's question is, why do I keep the promises I make to myself? And I was kind of asking myself this question earlier, a little bit sarcastically, with a little bit of like a little passive aggressively earlier, because I'm kind of irritated at the length of time I've had to wait to see the seeds that I've planted in the ground sprout in my life. And I'm not saying this on the basis that I'm doing something on social media, or I'm doing something in my life, or I'm working, so that immediately means it has to blow up. No, homie, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't a directive from the Lord, who had also shown me the vision of what it would look like and what it meant. So it's not like I'm just going off some I should make it like a basis. No, bro. Like, I heard the Lord, I saw the vision, I wrote it down, I've been obedient, I've been committed. And so once I was walking around, got some fresh air, and I really started to think to myself, I think this would be not only valuable to ask this question and let it be my 50th episode, but also just honest and vulnerable. And that's exactly what I have learned to be on the internet this year, not just on the podcast, but on my YouTube channel. Not feeling like me editing my videos more, adding an editing style would immediately be me trying to be somebody else or something like that, or just all those different things. Like, be seen trying and not care if people choose to misinterpret it, because I know how to tell a story and clearly convey my intentions. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to give you the answers that I have to this question. And it's funny because I have 2 exactly bullet points that are just plain answers, and then the rest are questions. I answered my question with 5 questions. I kid you not. I can't make this up, and it was not like I planned to do that. That's just how my brain works. So let's get into it. Why do I keep the promises I make to myself? The first and most obvious answer is that's how I was raised. When I didn't even realize me completing a project for school in the 5th grade to the T, doing it with excellence, going above and beyond, being taught to respect my teachers, to respect authority, to do what I was asked. It taught me indirectly that I should respond to any request or demand put on me with that same level of excellence, whether that demand is coming from outward in or it's coming from inward and I'm trying to get it out. So it was just so natural for me to do what I wanted to do all the time. And I also think it might have to do with the fact that I'm an only child. Only child, first granddaughter, first daughter. Like, first of all, the world is literally like right here. You know what I'm saying? That's how my family was for me. But also, like, I didn't have to ask or think about splitting things or sharing or stuff like that. It has not made me the stereotypical only child that you might be thinking of. I was taught to share. I was taught to care for others. I was taught to be humble, to not like seek out my own intentions first. But I was getting whatever I wanted, like behind closed doors. So you know what I'm saying? It didn't bother me if I was out that I gave somebody else something that I wanted or whatever. And that's not the main reason, but I'm just trying to put it into perspective. That is literally just how I was brought up. And so if I wanted to go do something, I didn't really have to ask anybody. You know what I'm saying? And the things that I wanted to do really only involved me like messing around at my own house, you know, or going outside or going to the pool, like things that were so close to me because I am naturally a homebody. So it just was kind of embedded in me. That's reason number one. That's not a question. The other reason that I keep the promises I make to myself is because it's way less work than not doing it. Like the mental turmoil I have been through when with good cause, I ran out of time. I had 48 other things to do. I overpromised my time, even though in the past I had been able to do something like that with the same amount of deliverables due and the same amount of limited time to do that. The one time I couldn't do it, my brain was fumbling, like, what is going on, blah, 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 blah. Everyone else who was involved is like, dude, it's fine. We didn't expect you to do that, but I did. And so anytime I wouldn't meet an expectation of my own, whether it was unintentional and like brought about by circumstances, or it was intentional and it was something I chose, the amount of stress I would feel was absolutely unprecedented. So I was like, we're just not going to do that. Noting how stressed out it made me feel, how disappointed, the amount of thoughts I was turning over in my mind about how I could have done it, if it was my fault, what I could do better. All of the things made me realize that when it was something more trivial, something more personal, something that I chose, that there was no way that I was going to basically put myself into that mental situation. And there are other factors that I've obviously learned to manage. It's like not over-promising. I've learned to do that as I've gotten older and be like, you know, just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. You know what I'm saying? And then also recognizing that, I mean, we know that the Bible says this, that like death and life are in the power of the tongue. But I also think that emphasizes the weight of your word, and especially to myself. I've always felt a really heavy impact when it comes to words, whether they were mine or my own. So needless to say, I learned very early on about myself to not mince words and to not assume that people were doing that either, especially when you were in conversations about, you know, things that matter personally. Anyways, those are the two just like bullet point answers. The rest of them are questions, because this is how I would like get myself to respond. Sometimes I will ask myself a question, and usually the question is most effective when I don't have an answer for it, because that means I've pricked the right place in my heart to be like, this is really a heart check. This is not about you being able to provide some answer to the question. And so the first question that came into mind when I asked myself, why do I keep the promises I make to myself, was who else matters? Like at the end of the day, who else do you have to answer to after you've broken a trust to yourself that you were too scared, too worried about what people might think about you, too committed to being in the unknown, or committed to something that was familiar to establish it. Like so many times people get into situations when they're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and start breaking trust to themselves without realizing it. And then by the time you realize it, it's already too late. Like that is something that I don't think can be taught so easily, or that someone who is a teenager or an adolescent can develop such a deep understanding of as easily outside of something like a sport or dance or something that you commit yourself to, because you immediately see how what you do impacts others and how it impacts your ability to show up for them in any group setting. But I think that just in general, like there's going to be nobody else around at the end of the day after you've made up the 5,000th justification for why you decided to not do this one very small thing that you said for yourself. And then I don't know what it's like to be on the other side of that.
Hi, it's me now, and the mic is actually working, and I just wanted to clarify. I don't mean that I've never known what that's like, because of course I have done that, but I meant more in recent history of my life. I don't know what it's like in that capacity.
And I never want to. So why are we acting like you breaking trust to yourself is doing something except hurting anybody but you, until you get into a situation where you have to be in a team setting, you have to be at work. You have to be somewhere for your kid. And the habits that you've built within yourself start spilling out onto other people and impacting the things people think about you and your kid, or think about you and your ability to do your work. Like, and even then, sometimes it's too much to make a switch, because now all of this added pressure when you had the ability to just do it when literally no one was watching. So that's what I think about. It's not like I'm saying this like you should think about this and you should prioritize it this way and you should question yourself like this. I'm telling you things that I literally have thought to myself while I was growing up. It's like, it's only going to get more visible. Your process is only going to become available to more eyes. Why would you not get it all kinked out before that happens and be able to maybe help someone? And also, you're losing years of your life in the time that you're waiting. So that's the first question, or the first two questions. The third question is, what else do you have to do? Genuinely. Like, this is nobody else's life. This is nobody else's time. Nobody else's future is dependent on whether or not you're willing to keep the promises that you make to yourself, except for yours. Are people going to be disappointed? Yes. Are people going to be hurt? Are people going to have to come behind and pick up after you and make changes? Yes. But all of those things will not impact them the same way they impact you. The world runs on. Literally, what else do you have to do? What other purpose have you been put on this earth for, if not to fulfill the promises to yourself? Then to like just not be on the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that something that simple. Like, everyone makes it so big and so grand. I want to go do all these things. Can't trust yourself to know that when you say, I want to leave the party at 9:30, that you're actually going to leave the party at 9:30. You leave at 3:30 a.m. You have work at 6. You got to be up at 5:30. You've done that for 16 straight weekends in a row. What? Who? Hello? Like, genuinely, what else do you have to be doing? What else do you have to be doing? Why would you subject yourself to somebody else's ideas or somebody else's promises that they keep to themselves for God knows what reason, when you could literally just be all by yourself, you know, and content, and have trust and rapport and a fabulous relationship with yourself because you did what you said you would do? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know about that one. Anyways, okay, I thought I had 5 questions, but I only have 4. The last one is, what could be more worth your time? It's similar to the last question, but it's like, this is your time. God put you on earth for this time, for this season, in this reason, at this purpose. What could be more worth your time than doing what needs to be done for you? Everybody uses this scripture, and it's become a lot more popular recently. People using the full interpretation of love your neighbor as yourself, emphasizing the love yourself part. Doing what you need to do to develop trust with yourself, keeping promises to yourself, is a prime example of loving yourself. A lot of people don't have problems keeping promises to other people. And for what? What are they going to do with that? Say thank you and move on? Know that you can be used in a minute or something like that if they need it, or in a pinch? Like, they know more about you than you know about you sometimes. And I'm not speaking from a place of like, yeah, I'm this perfect person and I know this could. No, I'm talking about me. Like, that used to be me. I was like, let me just offer myself up at all times. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm glad I went through that phase as a teenager, because going through it as a young adult would have been even more brutal. Like, if you haven't seen the episode I did on like my people pleasing to boundary baddie arc, like it's always that serious when it comes to you. You are your only lifeline in terms of trust with yourself. You cannot depend on anybody else to do that. So what could be more worth your time than establishing that over and over and over and over again? And I think something that's helped me keep this perspective, as I talked about earlier, even though it's been kind of frustrating, very irritating, and very annoying, not seeing the vision that God has had for me based off of the things that he has placed in my life, the things that he's asked me to do, come and be manifested in my physical reality, is the idea of stewardship. Like, when Jesus died on the cross, he paid the price for our sins. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, your life is not your own. You have been bought with a price. And so I used to think about that, because at first, the first thing I thought was, I don't want to be bought with, no. I like me. Leave me alone, right? But then, for obvious reasons, it's like, okay, just no, right? You just no, okay? And so I think that has helped me in moments of time realize that not only is my life a living sacrifice, or it should be lived as a living sacrifice unto God, but I don't know what me keeping my promises to myself is doing for somebody else that is watching me, because people are always watching me. And this is another like sentiment that was expressed in my childhood, that like, oh, if I did something and nobody else saw me, who's gonna get in trouble? My mom would always say, well, Jesus is always watching. And of course that would ruminate in the back of my head anytime I ever considered doing something that was not responsible or right. But then as I got older and I got around people, I'm on teams all the time, just walking around in the grocery store, driving, it doesn't even matter. Like, there are always eyes on your life. There are always eyes on the things that you are doing, and you don't know how your commitment to building a strong relationship of trust with yourself, being obedient to God, doing the hard things that are hard for you or the things that scare you, you don't know what that's doing for somebody else. Like, you're stewarding your life away, and sometimes you feel like it's for nothing, but you don't always get to see the things that people take from who you decide to be. There's always extra impact somewhere else. And so your stewardship is not just for you or just because you should live your life as unto the Lord. It's for everyone else around you, because you never know if someone has been struggling, trying, yearning to get to that place of building trust with themselves, and they see somebody else do it, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have a platform for them to keep doing it. Money's not rolling in, and they're not doing it because it's making the money. You don't know what that does for somebody else. And like, that's the whole point. Stewardship keeps you humble. It keeps you in a good place of perspective. At least that's how it's helped me to realize in a time like this and in different times that like keeping the promises that I've made to myself and establishing trust with myself over and over and over again is not just benefiting me. And for that reason, I'm like, okay, bet. Like, even if I am still annoyed, or even if it's like, this is kind of difficult for me, I'm not really enjoying it. And so that's why I'm like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I would rather be slightly annoyed than be very distraught because I decided, for whatever random reason that is not justifiable in my opinion, that I wanted to break the 10,000 whatever day of streak trust with myself by not keeping this promise. It's absolutely not worth it. And even if it's one day, like, that's something to be noted, and that's something to celebrate. And so as I was trying to come up with something to make my 50th episode about, I thought that was a good way to not only vocalize my experience, vocalize how I was feeling, be vulnerable, but also encourage someone in the reality of doing something that is constant, like that requires a lot of commitment, and oftentimes doesn't show a lot of, like, I don't know what you would call success, because to me it's successful. Like, I've been doing this my entire life, doing something for myself and continuing to do it no matter what people say about it or if they have anything to say about it. So I just wanted to kind of be, I guess, a vessel with my literal voice in that way to encourage someone and to commemorate the fact that I did something that I said I was going to do, like, very early on in the year. I committed to it probably last minute, like at the end of 2024, but it's crazy that I've posted 50 episodes, and it's also crazy, like, seriously, it's also crazy physically, the difference. I'm wearing the same thing, talking, using the same format, but like how different I look, and just my hair and everything like that, and just how different I feel and all of those things. So yeah, I have to go because I have to go to work, but I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Happy 50 podcast! Okay, bye, mini monologue. See you later, monologuers. Bye.